Belinda Davids is an international sensation, hailing from the windy city Gqeberha, whose vocal talent has soared to heights that even she cannot believe. We caught up with Belinda to chat about her undying love for Whitney, her formidable success on Britain's Got Talent, where she knocked the socks off even the notoriously critical Simon Cowell, and of course the latest installation of a tribute show that continues to sell out wherever she goes.
What I've learned with theatre is that the moment you think, oh, I think I can miss this one, that's when you must go.
Then you miss, yes.
Because it's going to open your mind to the most amazing thing that you probably wouldn't have experienced before.
Yeah.
And if I have to be honest, I need to own up to my own mistakes.
You haven't seen the show yet?
No, I have.
Oh.
But before I saw it, I felt the same way because I am a huge Whitney fan as well. And I always think to myself, because I've been living in Joburg now for almost 2 years. Mm-hmm. And I've seen your billboards and I've seen all the adverts for your show. Mm. And I've thought to myself, oh man, I don't think I want to see it because I don't want somebody to ruin Whitney for me.
Yeah, of course. I get it.
And then I saw it and I was just like, oh my word, this is phenomenal. Your show is phenomenal.
Thank you, thank you.
How do you prepare for that? How? I know you've been doing this for 10 years now.
11.
11, yeah. Wow. Does it still take the same amount of preparation as it did before?
No, I mean, when we started the show, I had to do a little bit more digging into her performances. Yeah. So, but now we're at the point, it's 11 years. Mm. If we're gonna make changes, it's gonna be small changes, but effective changes. Mm. Changes like maybe swapping out a song that people haven't heard in a long time. Costume changes. Maybe we add a costume change, now we're at 7 costume changes. And we've swapped out something. Actually, we made a very special dress that actually reminded me so much of her, but it's her on-style stage, her on-stage sense of style. And so we make effective changes. Yeah. Small but effective changes. Yeah. Like last year, it was the 10-year anniversary and we had an orchestra.
Wow.
Were you here last year?
I wasn't.
It was my favorite stage. It was well, actually, I tell you what, this stage is now my favorite stage because we've changed some things around, and we still have my live band, but it's just the placement of things. And, this time around we have a much bigger screen than what we had last year. So
yeah, and I have to say, it's so
small,
professional. It blew my mind. It really blew my mind because it felt like the biggest international performance, and it is the biggest international performance because you've performed all over the world, right? Yeah. What's your favorite country to perform in outside of South Africa, of course?
Oh boy. Okay, so it varies. It changes for me because when I go to the UK, it reminds me of home because of the amount of love that I get. I get similar love from the UK when I go there and I take the show there. But then I go to Denmark and it's a more reserved crowd and it's sort of like, okay, well, I can just sound pretty today. Not that I sound pretty, sound pretty the other days, but today I can just sort of relax a little bit and just give them a pretty performance. And I know they will, respond. It's hard to say. It's hard. I'm gonna have to say home. I'm gonna have to say home.
You were there.
Yeah.
We love you, of course.
With more than 1,200 performances in 28 countries, The Greatest Love of All returns to the stage where it all began back in 2013, the Mandela at the Joburg Theatre.
And do you guys have like really big arguments about which songs to switch around and costumes, or is it just...
No, we don't argue. We're just one big family. We don't argue. If we bring our opinions. Yes, I would, for instance, say, okay, $1 Million Bill wouldn't go down so well in South Africa, but it did, right? So we kept it in. And then you go to places like Scandinavia, anywhere in Scandinavia, Switzerland or Sweden, and you do $1 Million Bill there, and it doesn't go down. It's like, okay, well, they don't really know that one because it's from our latest album, and maybe no one really cared about the latest album except for I look to you on that album, But it's never an argument. It's always just, okay, you bring your opinion, and whatever makes it work, whatever makes the songs, the show, the flow better is what works.
And when I was watching the show, I picked up how similar you sound to Whitney, not just in your singing, but even when you're speaking in between some of the songs. Is that something that you've always had, or is it something that you've had to learn, that you've incorporated for the purpose of the show?
No, never. I don't think that I really had to work on my nuances for the specific show. I think I've just been practicing for the past 35 years to do this show, you see. And so, no, it wasn't really, I don't really have to, it just comes.
Yeah.
It just comes. It just sort of comes over me, you know, that, okay, that's how she would say something, you know, and the response from the people when you say that specific thing, you know, so it reminds them a little bit of her. But, yeah.
Having idolized Whitney Houston as a young child, Belinda was affectionately, some might say prophetically, named after the legend by locals from her hometown.
What is it that you love about Whitney? I know that everybody loves her for her music and her voice, but what else is the thing that just has drawn you so much to her?
The fact that she's relatable. I mean, when I saw How Will I Know the first time, the vibrance, I wanted that. I wanted her colorfulness, her innocence, her deliverance, you know, her hair, her body, her everything. She was so relatable. She was just what every young girl wanted to be at that time. And even in her progression, you know, when she went from pop into urban pop into R&B, that transitioning, you know, her sense of style was really cool. But, you know, not just that, but she had amazing producers around her and people that brought that forward for us, you know, who looked up to her and her music.
Tell us a bit more about the Got Talent franchise. How did you find yourself on that show?
Honestly speaking, we were in America and the producers of the show actually saw me perform. They've been to my show and they said, ugh, we want her to be on the show. And so that's how it really came about, you know, with all the Got Talent shows that I did.
I saw another interview that you did where you spoke about, you know, the struggles of trying to make your own music and trying to fit in. What would you have to say to other young people that are in the same struggle? Because, you know, it's that, should I make what people want me to make, or should I make what I want to make?
Well, at this moment in time, before I give any advice to any young singer, at this moment in time, if I had to release anything, I would have to step away from the show. Plain and simple, I'd have to step away from it. But I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready to do that. I'm ready to release some music, but I'm not quite ready to step away from the show yet. I've only covered 28 countries. I think I need to cover a little bit more. You know, that kind of, I want to represent my country in places that doesn't even think to touch this country. That's where I want to go. And as far as advice is for younger ones, stick to yourself, be the best of yourself, be the best version of yourself. You know, whatever phase you are in, be the best of yourself. You know, we go through some, human beings go through some things, mental instability, you know, things that forces us to quit. And my advice is always, we don't realize how strong we are as human beings. We don't realize how strong we are as human beings. I've been through a lot in my life. I turned 47 this year. I've been through a lot in my life, but I chose to be stronger. I chose to work harder, you know? And sometimes as a woman of color, I have to work twice as hard. But I did it. I worked twice as hard because I have a goal. What is my goal? My goal is to inspire young kids. My goal is to inspire my own kids. My goal is to rise above. My goal is to dream more. You know, I don't want to stop when I'm 60. I want to keep going. And when I get to that point in my life, I want to be the best version of myself then. So, yeah.
Just piggybacking off of what you just said, I know that the music industry tends to be harder on women post 30, and it's known that once you reach 30, a lot of entertainers just don't even feel like continuing anymore because of how difficult it's been. Although, as time has been progressing, that we're seeing a bit of a shift. I mean, Beyonce is also in her early 40s.
Yeah.
There are a lot of phenomenal superstars that are in their 40s that are women. Have you had any difficulties with that? And what has kept you going? Because I think, personally, your show is one of the best there is currently.
Thank you. I choose not to stop because of my age. It's been hard. When you go to places like Los Angeles, you touch a massive music industry. When you're home in South Africa, the industry is this small. So therefore, you've got to adjust. You know, the show that we're doing, it fits perfectly here. It fits. That's why I can come home and sell out shows every time, because it fits. If I took this show to LA, now you're touching, you know, sensitive ground, because it's not just where she's from, specifically America. It's not just where she's from, but the industry is so much bigger there, you know. And so people will come and say, well, you know, why don't you do your own music? Well, I am doing my own music, and I've lived in Los Angeles for 10 years, and I know the struggle, and I know the struggle here. You know, but I can't stop because the industry is tiny. I've got to find a different way. I've got to find another outlet to give myself, to give a piece of myself, the music, a piece of my music to the young'uns.
Have you ever been worried about the stigma that there is around doing covers? I mean, you know, a lot of people may not take certain artists as seriously when they think of somebody doing covers. But I mean, if you think of some of the biggest records out there are covers. I mean, I Will Always Love You is a cover.
Is a cover.
So how did you handle that?
I can't even think about it. I can't even be bothered to think about it. If I think about, oh my God, I'm just a tribute artist, I'm just doing covers. Well, you know, Beyonce's on tour right now. That whole album is a cover album. That whole Renaissance album is a cover album. So, because she changed 2 lyrics in some track that someone else brought out years ago, you're gonna go after her? You have no right to come after me. Just let me be my best version right now, which is making this show the best in the world as a tribute artist. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And watching the show, one of the things that stuck out for me in terms of your vocal performance is how amazing your pitch is. And
Thank you.
It just felt like it was on point every time.
Thank you.
Does that come with years of performance, or is it something that has just been innate in you that's grown, that you've just had at an early stage?
My earliest memory of being able to sing is when I was 5 years old. And I was not allowed to sing off key then. And I've just only been practicing for the past 40 years. So sometimes I drift a little bit, and I'm okay to say that, because I'm also saying I'm not lip singing because I've gotten that before. But I'm okay. I'm really okay. I'm not worried about, you know, singing, being pitchy or off pitch or on pitch. I can't think about these things. All I think about is just giving my best performance every time I do a show.
Yeah, but and also, of course, some of the beauty is, you know, in the imperfections in a performance.
Exactly.
Yeah. What are you listening to right now? What kind of music, artist, genre, album?
Listen, I've got to keep up with my son. Hey, he's a young producer, and we write together sometimes, and I have to keep up with all of the new stuff. But I tell you what, when I put on my headphones, the first thing I go to is Earth, Wind and Fire. Sometimes I have a moment with Yeba Smith, and I do a bit of, you know, old Beyonce. And then I go back to, you know, Whitney. I always go back to Whitney, always.
I was doing a bit of research for this interview, and I found, I don't know if it was your earliest album, from, I think the year was 1996. Can you please just let us know what your influences were at the time? Because I picked up a few, influences of my own, but I'm just interested to hear what was your influence at the time in 1996.
Oh, Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston. not even far off,
Yeah.
I was so inspired at that time only by those two artists. I was on Vision of Love every day. I was on Baby Tonight every day. Yeah. I was on Whitney every day,
And I have to say, when I did start listening to that album, and I think this has just been a consistent theme in my interaction with your music, is that you surprise me every time. And with that album as well, yes, you can hear that it was from 1996, it was of that time, but it's really good. And I'm not just saying it to impress. It's really good. And it's there's certain albums that you listen to and you think, oh, I enjoyed it because I was young at the time, Now that I'm older, it doesn't appeal to you anymore. Or sometimes music just appeals to you because of nostalgia. But I think that that particular album of that time was still, had a lot of intelligent music. So how do you go about sourcing music or sourcing inspiration for performances outside of Whitney?
For me, if I had to, because every time I write a song, I try to step out of the Whitney bubble. I have to step out of that. How do I find sources? You listen to stuff that is fresh. You listen to stuff that's now. And being, a bit of, I don't want to call myself an old lady or anything, but, going into the next generation of my life, I want to be fresh. I want to do something new. So I have to stick to what's happening today. I said the other day, I would love to do a song with Jay something, a little bit of Amapiano, I could do that, and I also thought, but if you listen to Amapiano and the vocals that is put on Amapiano, it's sort of played down a little bit. And I don't want to play down my vocals. I want to be up there. So I'm thinking, maybe I'll source a bit from Amapiano. Maybe I'll source a bit from, some neo soul. I love neo soul. I love neo soul. I love R&B. I don't want R&B to die. I need to keep it alive somehow. So, but I think I have to step away from the show to get a bit of newness and freshness.
I'm so glad you touched on that, because I actually wanted to ask you if you would consider teaming up with a DJ, because I really think that you could, because when I was listening to that first album, there was a song that gave me a little bit of 90s house, a little bit, and it sounded like your voice could definitely work so well on a house track, on an Amapiano, and I mean, as with Amapiano, yes, it is played down, but there are some fantastic Amapiano vocalists. No, listen, I'm keen. I'm well keen. So are there any other art forms that you use to express yourself outside of singing?
Cooking.
Oh, wow. What's your favorite dish to make?
I am a bread maker. I'm a baker. Everyone comes to my house, and if I don't have bread in my house, fresh bread, there's my other art form right there. Just cooking.
And I'm glad you mentioned something that is not what people would immediately think when you think of art. Because on the way here, I was thinking about how artists generally just live life in an art form. Everything is an art form.
I understand
and you take
that.
pride in everything that you do.
You probably would have expected me to say, oh, I dabble in painting a little bit, and I do this. No, cooking. Cooking is where it lies for me. I tell you, I take it serious. I'm a foodie. I take it very serious. I will pay a substantial amount of money to have the experience of the art of cooking. I would.
I'm a bit of a baker myself. I used to sell chocolate chip cookies, and he was one of my biggest customers.
Davids has since performed with other international heavy hitters and even had the honor of singing for a US president.
The show is huge. As you said, you're wanting to go to other countries and more countries, and I think they definitely deserve to see it. Who would you love to perform for?
I think I probably would love to perform for, I haven't had this question, wow. Who would I want to perform for? You know what's ringing in my head? Obama. I want to perform for Obama. That's just like ringing right now, so I'm just going to say that.
And he loves music. He loves
music.
A music head.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He is.
And who would you love to perform with?
Jay something.
Okay. He's amazing.
I'm after this guy. I'm telling you. I'm like, I don't know if I sat this morning on my socials and I was like, should I send him a message? Because I've been saying for a month now that I want to perform with Jay something. So I'm just going to have to do it. Jay,
you know what?
I
bump into him every now and then at
the
gym.
Spread the word.
I will
Spread the
tap
word.
him on the shoulder a little bit and say, hey, there's an amazing performer that wants to perform with you. I will do that. And what are you hoping to see going forward for the show and just for yourself?
Listen, I have goals for the show. I'm telling you. I said the other day to my management, I said, has any tribute artist ever performed in a stadium before?
Oh, that's amazing.
Anyone? Anyone? No. That's my next goal.
Lovely.
That's my next goal, is to fill a stadium. Don't tell me I can't do it, because then you're really challenging me.
You certainly can. I believe so. Belinda, thank you so much. I wish you all the best going forward. It was lovely interviewing you.
Thanks for having me.
With more than 1,200 performances in 28 countries, The Greatest Love of All returns to the stage where it all began back in 2013, the Mandela at the Joburg Theatre.